Good evening. I'm Matt Gutman in for Tony DeCopel. Breaking tonight, President Trump abruptly calling off a wave of attacks on Iran planned for tonight, insisting a peace agreement is at hand. But we've heard this before. Is it too late to prevent a global oil shortage expected this summer that will again spike gas prices? Severe weather outbreak. More than 120 million Americans in the danger zone tonight with possible tornadoes, hail, flash floods, and dangerous heat. Rob Marciano again with the timing and the track.
And liftoff.
SpaceX set to launch the largest stock IPO in history, potentially making Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. What investors need to know.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel.
Tonight, whiplash in the Middle East, hours after saying the U.S. would attack civilian infrastructure and even take over Iran's energy facilities. President Trump announced today that a deal could be signed over the weekend and that the documents are in pretty final shape. Over the previous 48 hours, the war of words with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz had escalated into the language of bombs and tit-for-tat retaliations on Iran and missiles launched at U.S. bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. Today, the president said he suspended a ferocious night of attacks on Iran, even after it called the ceasefire meaningless. So to bring in some clarity, let's go to Caitlin Huey-Burns in Washington. So, Caitlin, what's the state of play right now with this deal?
Hey, good evening, Matt. Well, what's at play here is a potential deal to strike a deal. The president said the U.S. and Iran are now closing in on a memorandum of understanding that would then kick off 60 days of negotiations over Iran's nuclear program.
President Trump called off a third straight day of airstrikes against Iran tonight, saying there was an agreement with the regime.
We just made a great settlement of the war with Iran. And we're going to be subject to finalization of documents. We should get done over the next few days.
Just hours earlier, the president was threatening more bombing.
It'll be bigger, more powerful.
But by this afternoon, an apparent breakthrough. CBS News has learned the agreement, if signed, would open up the Strait of Hormuz, include a commitment by Iran not to enrich uranium for 15 to 20 years, and, if there's enough progress, release billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets. The president said the U.S. naval blockade in the strait will remain until the deal is officially agreed to, which he said could be this weekend. Overnight, the U.S. used 2 Hellfire missiles to disable a tanker carrying Iranian oil. The president said the price of oil will fall once the strait is opened.
We'll have oil prices dropping like a rock.
Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen disputed that prediction.
Well, that's just not true. Over time, prices will go down, but they will be sticky for some time. We just saw reports this week that inflation is the highest it's been in years.
Now, as for the Iranians, a foreign ministry spokesperson acknowledged that while the text of the deal is nearly ready, the agreement has not yet become final. Matt.
Okay, a long way to go, Caitlin. Thanks. So let's bring in Face the Nation moderator and chief foreign affairs correspondent, Margaret Brennan. The president has promised the deal dozens of times now over the past 2 months. So, Margaret, what is different this time?
Well, Matt, this would be a deal with the very same repressive regime, though it does have some new personnel at the top of it, and it promises them some financial breathing room. It would also give some relief to global trade if the strait is indeed fully reopened within the next 30 days, which would bring us back to where we were before the war started. As for the nuclear program, that's where you could see a difference. If the U.S. can get Iran to allow inspectors in, remove their nuclear material, stop enrichment, it would be significant. But these technical details are where this gets really complicated, and that's going to be hammered out over 60 days of talks.
Okay, what we have seen already, Margaret, is the markets have popped in response. But what is the economic reality here, given that the Persian Gulf has essentially been closed to traffic for more than, 3 months now?
Well, even with the deal, it's going to take time to clear the traffic jam out of the Strait of Hormuz. Also, global oil production is months or even years away from resuming normal operations. On top of that, we can expect another oil and gas price shock in mid-July. That is because those fuel reserves that everyone has tapped into to help stabilize prices, they'll be running low in the next 5 weeks. The president is keenly aware of all of that higher prices, especially in the middle of summer travel season, will be another negative in the pocketbook for those voters he wants to turn out and vote for his party in November.
And of course, for people at the gas pump as well. Margaret, thank you very much. And to a new outbreak of severe weather right now in the Midwest. Day 3 of a multi-day threat. More than 120 million people now in the path of potentially dangerous storms. Iowa battered again this afternoon. A large section of Illinois, including Chicago, bracing for tornadoes. Meteorologist Rob Marciano is in Maple Park, Illinois. Rob.
Hey, good evening, Matt. Well, just look what the winds from yesterday's storms did to this building on a vineyard about an hour west of Chicago, where they had winds gusting over 80 miles an hour. But what the workers here described to me to be was likely a tornado. You can see with this sort of destruction, it probably was. There were 16 other reported tornadoes yesterday, damaging wind reports, over 300 of them across 10 states. And that severe weather outbreak continues today.
Severe weather continuing to rock the Midwest. Heavy rain and wind sending debris flying. Parts of Iowa getting pounded for a second straight day. In Des Moines, a man was killed after a tree broke apart and fell on him as storms passed through. The storm system ripping roofs off buildings, dropping damaging hail, and bringing severe flooding. Strong winds forced these Little Leaguers to scatter after a softball game in Comstock, Michigan Wednesday, and sent this lounge chair flying in Chicago, where winds topped 85 miles per hour. 12 miles away in Stickney, Jasmine Scott said the roof came off her building, and half the residents in her condo association are seniors.
We can replace the roof. You know, we can't replace people.
Winery owner Joe Brandonizio says one of his workers tied himself to a water trailer to keep from being blown away when a powerful storm blew through the Maple Park, Illinois area Wednesday.
I saw the debris fly up and spin around. I got down in the basement. I told the staff to get down there.
Brandonizio's team members were okay, but they'll be picking up the pieces of his farm in the days to come. So will residents of Corning, Iowa, where wind gusts reached up to 80 miles per hour at the height of the storm.
It's just unbelievable, the damage of trees.
This destroyed building, by the way, is less than 2 years old, so a bit of a heartbreak there. And adding insult to injury, we're in the middle of another tornado watch tonight. So the last round about to come through, and this one means business from eastern Iowa through much of northern Illinois, including Chicago and Milwaukee. Individual supercell thunderstorms that could produce tornadoes will likely accumulate into a line and then become a little less potent overnight. But until 8, 9 o'clock tonight, it's going to be quite dicey. Then it gets towards Pittsburgh and the I-95 corridor tomorrow, which you have your own batch of intense thunderstorms tonight. You'll get another round of intense thunderstorms tomorrow, some of which could be severe, fed by the heat and humidity. Temperatures tomorrow are going to be at least 90 degrees in some of the bigger cities. It will be very, very warm and humid, and feeding those storms, cooling off and calming down once the front comes through. But until then, it's going to be pretty dangerous. Matt?
Rob, thank you. President Trump today shook up his intelligence team, announcing the nomination of U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to serve as the permanent director of national intelligence. This comes after intense pushback from members of Congress against his appointment of mortgage regulator Bill Pulte as the interim spy chief. Democrats temporarily blocked the renewal of the crucial FISA surveillance program, protesting against Pulte's lack of national security experience. And now to Nashville and the battle over a proposed data center to be built right next to the Nashville Zoo, potentially exposing the animals there, including endangered leopards, to noise, fumes, and bright lights. Our Skylar Henry is there.
We have to protect not just animals, but our neighbors, our water supply.
Residents packed this public hearing in Tennessee tonight, looking to stop a nearly 70,000 square foot data center from being built just feet from the Nashville Zoo.
It's not too late to stop it either.
Country music star Brad Paisley added his voice and urged followers on social media to back an online petition against the project. It now has nearly 400,000 signatures.
The data center would operate 24/7 right across from the Nashville Zoo, home to more than 3,000 animal species, including the clouded leopard, one of the rarest collections of animals in the country. What's at stake?
I think is the health of our animals, and that certainly is our biggest concern. This constant humming noise, the light penetration, it affects photo periods of these animals, it affects their breeding cycles, it affects their stress.
The company behind the data center, DC Block, says it is committed to addressing any issues.
That there is a tremendous amount of misinformation. And with respect to the generators, we put them on the opposite side of the building from the zoo.
An explosion of AI data centers across the country has created pushback from coast to coast. 14 states have proposed legislation banning development.
We would be willing to listen, and our attorneys have reached out to them, but I don't know that there's any resolution for the magnitude of what they're talking about putting in right next to the zoo.
The Metro City Council has proposed a temporary ban that would stop the development of all data centers in Nashville until at least November. That as city lawmakers consider another measure that would limit where data centers could be built and what resources they can use. Matt?
All right, Skylar, thanks. SpaceX is set to go public tomorrow in what's expected to be the largest IPO in history, a move that could make Elon Musk a trillionaire and create thousands of new millionaires inside the company. But long before SpaceX had 22,000 employees, it was just Musk and employee number one. Our senior business and tech correspondent Joe Linkent spoke with him about what this moment means for employees and everyday investors.
Darling.
When Elon Musk's SpaceX starts trading on the NASDAQ tomorrow, it will become the biggest initial public offering in history at $1.8 trillion, making Musk the first trillionaire.
There was lots of setbacks, lots of highs and lots of lows. Space is hard. Rockets are really hard. We blew up a few engines.
Aerospace engineer Tom Mueller was the first employee Musk hired, testing and building rocket engines.
I met Elon through an amateur rocket club, and he convinced me to come do something exciting, which was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Mueller, now the CEO of Impulse Space, a rocket propulsion company, will be one of many former and current employees holding SpaceX equity, waiting to cash in.
I learned so much from Elon. He's the best mentor I've ever had, certainly. I've never met anybody so driven as him, so focused.
What should the average person who may end up having SpaceX land in their index fund, in their 401k, understand about this company?
I think a lot of people don't realize how much we use space now. If you use Google Maps, you're looking at pictures of the Earth, weather prediction from space. I think there's a lot of things that need to be done in space that are starting to happen now, like orbital data centers. I think it's just really going to take off from here.
As for the average investor, buying a share of SpaceX tomorrow is a risk.
The stock might, pop on the day one, the way IPOs often do. We think that you have to believe that everything will go right, but the real takeaway is there's no margin of safety.
No margin of safety. Those reasons, according to Morningstar, include the risk with which SpaceX is operating. Right now, the company does not turn a profit, and there's no guarantee its bets on future technology will pay off. Tomorrow, SpaceX stock will begin trading at $135 a share on the NASDAQ.
And you will be there reporting every moment of it.
We will be there.
Thanks, Joe Ling. Big day tomorrow, and we'll be watching. All right, still ahead on the CBS Evening News. A home explodes and rocks an entire neighborhood. What happened to the other houses nearby? Firefighters rushed to the scene of a house explosion in northeastern Pennsylvania today. Officials say a suspected leak in an outside propane tank caused the initial blast, which then set off 2 other tanks. Flames destroyed the home and spread to at least 2 other houses, which later collapsed. 3 people were taken to the hospital. A terrifying scene in London prompted an amateur cricket player to make the catch of his life. A young girl was dangling from a window ledge Tuesday while a concerned crowd gathered below. When the girl lost her grip, a police officer and the other man were there to grab her. He said his cricket skills helped him make that vital catch. No word yet on where the girl's caregivers were. That's the CBS Evening News for this Thursday. For Tony DeCopo, I'm Matt Gutman. Good night.